Feelings are the lowest in the hierarchy of manifestation.
Feelings?
Yes.
Okay.
Your emotions are the lowest in the hierarchy of manifestation. So the fact that you feel a thing will happen does not ultimately mean that it will happen. If a thought is very stubborn,
yes.
You can't counter a stubborn thought with a gentle habit. The stubborn thought must be countered with an equally stubborn positive habit. Words, sufficiently internalized, eventually become images. Images sufficiently internalized eventually become experiences.
How do you describe someone that is afraid?
The fact that a person is afraid of a thing does not mean that there must be an eventual outcome. One of the ways you can regulate an emotion is what we call the pain principle. What does this mean? If you make expressing an emotion painful, you will find out that you are expressing less of that emotion. The law of intensity states that every thought that is stubborn must be countered with an equally stubborn expression, whether it's words or actions or habit. You don't get what you say, you get what you predominantly say. You don't get what you think, you get what you predominantly think of. That's the law of dominance. Because repetition is emotion. You need to write that down. Repetition is emotion. If you repeat it, you will eventually feel it. That's why if you hear a song on radio and that song is a song you don't like, if you constantly hear that song, you will eventually like the song, because repetition is emotion.
Hi guys, good to have you here again. It's Benzik speaking, and I'm here once again with my very good friend, Mr. Adekanmi Olusanya, a knowledge entrepreneur and a life coach. And today we're going to be discussing on emotional mastery. All you need to know to be able to master your emotions. The first episode we did very well. I will link it in the description so you can know more about it in that particular video. But here we're going to be discussing on mastering your emotions and everything you need to know to put your emotions in check. So don't forget, if it's your first time of coming to this channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share it with one or two persons. So make welcome, without much ado, my very good friend here, Mr. Adekanmi Olusanya. Thank you again for this privilege to speak this time around again.
It's a pleasure.
We're going to be talking on emotional mastery. First, what can you describe? What does it mean to master your emotions? What does it mean for someone to master their emotions?
To master your emotions is the ability to know how everything connects with your emotions and to know how to subject everything to the power of your emotions. There are so many things. Silence is highly connected to emotions. Intuition, your words, the way you speak them, understanding people, understanding different temperaments, understanding different situations, your ability to listen. So I would describe emotional mastery as the ability to understand how everything ties to your emotion and how to make the most of it.
Your ability to understand how everything ties to your emotion.
Everything in life is connected to your emotion and how to make the most of it.
How to make the most of it.
In terms of how to have control and how to exploit every scenario, every possibility to your utmost advantage.
And including manifestations and all of that.
Everything.
Okay, so now what are the hierarchies of manifestation?
Okay, there are 5 elements in the hierarchy of manifestation.
Okay.
First, you have your feelings or emotions, then your thoughts, then your words, then your actions, and then your habits.
Okay.
So these are the 5 expressions in the manifestation of emotion. And until people understand these 5 expressions and the interplay of these expressions, they will never be able to fully understand manifestation and orchestrate manifestation.
Okay.
Yes.
So how explain each and every one of them?
Okay, very good. Yes. Now, feelings are the lowest in the hierarchy of manifestation.
Feelings?
Yes.
Okay.
Your emotions are the lowest in the hierarchy of manifestation. So the fact that you feel a thing will happen does not ultimately mean that it will happen.
Okay.
Now, the fact that a person feels that you will pass an exam or fail an exam does not automatically mean that you will fail or pass that exam. Yes.
How do you mean?
Okay, very good. As a student, I passed many exams I expected to fail, especially the ICANN ones. And then I began to, that was what triggered my research into this area. Then I began to see and understand how those things work. For example, the fact that a person, there were many people who believed that they would go to an embassy believing that they're going to get a visa, and they won't get it. You know, there are people who go into a contest, a music contest, a talent show, believing, very optimistic. You know, even when I watch football and I study competitions, you have teams. In the last World Cup, the team that everybody felt like, man, these people are going to end up winning the World Cup, never won the World Cup. The team that eventually won the World Cup was the team that lost their opening game to Saudi Arabia. So I have seen that. I have seen so many instances of people who felt that they will manifest a thing and they did not manifest it. And people who felt like they will not manifest a thing and they eventually manifested it. For example, I know a lot of people who never expected they will have cancer, who eventually succumbed to cancer and died. So it tells you something about feelings, that I'm not saying feelings do not have any impact. No, I'm saying that feelings have a limited impact.
Limited?
Yes. Feelings are necessary, but they are not altogether sufficient.
Okay, now what people they have said over and over again, but when you feel a thing,
yes,
and you believe it strongly,
yes,
that it most likely comes to pass. So, but you're more or less trying to say the opposite.
Yes.
So, how do you describe it that someone can feel it, and that is the foundation of our faith. That when you feel something, you just believe it strongly, that you eventually manifest it. So, why would you say you can actually believe something? There's one thing to say you believe, and there's another thing to say. And maybe the belief, you are doubting it. But can someone actually believe something strongly or feel it? And then you will not see it, or the opposite will happen?
Of course.
Okay.
I could share many examples with you. So, if you look at TikTok, it's one of the biggest successes in the tech world that we live in today. The founders of TikTok never expected the company to be this successful. Never. They said we never expected or felt like it to be this successful. The second richest man in the world is Elon Musk. Elon Musk said, when I bought Tesla, I expected Tesla to fail. I never expected Tesla to be this successful. Sean Puffy Combs is responsible for the largest selling hip-hop record of all time, I'll Be Missing You, featuring Faith Evans 112. You know, a song he wrote for his prodigy, Notorious B.I.G. And the person who wrote that song, the verses, was Sauce Money. He said, I never thought it would be this successful. I never thought it would be this successful. So I've seen a lot of people manifest things, even when, because it's just your feelings is one, your thoughts is another one. Your thoughts is higher in the hierarchy than your emotions. Okay. So if I have, that's why when people come to me for coaching and they say, oh, I feel like something bad is going to happen, I say, no problem. It's just a feeling. Let's get your thinking to be in a different light, and then your thinking can dissolve or can dissolve your feeling. But even if we don't use feeling, there's a higher hierarchy. That's your words. If we don't, and higher than your words are what? Your actions. Higher than your actions are your habits. So let me give you an example. Okay. I said, I know people who never expected or felt like they will have cancer or they will have a disease. They eventually had it and died. Why? Because they had cancer habits. If you don't have cancer feelings, but you have cancer, because habits are stronger than actions. Actions are stronger than words. Words are stronger than thoughts, and thoughts are stronger than feelings. Eventually, they manifest it. For example, yes, let me give you an example. Turkey and Syria is presently plagued with earthquakes. Did they expect that 40,000 people would die in the last 2 weeks due to earthquakes? No. They didn't feel that it will happen. They didn't expect that it will happen when it happened, because it is more than just. So, example, if I have a particular house or a particular environment, and we're not taking care of our climate, our actions every day with carbon emissions, with methane, with fossil fuels, with carbon emission vehicles and everything. Our actions are depreciating the planet, and bringing it into degradation. And we feel that, oh, nothing will happen, because actions are stronger in the hierarchy than feelings. Eventually, the actions you take would prevail over your feelings. That's why a lot of people who eventually succeed, who didn't expect that they will succeed, if you check their lives, you see that they had habits and actions that were speaking in consonance with what they manifested, even though they didn't feel like it will happen, but their actions and habits were speaking in that regard. There are many tennis Grand Slam winners who never expected that they will win a Grand Slam when they won the Grand Slam. They didn't expect that they will win. But it was not just about your expectation and your feelings. Were they practicing as though they will win? Were they competing as though they will win? Do you understand? So that's why I say your habits and your actions prevail over your words. I mean, there are many people who say, oh, I am blessed, I am this, I am that. Now, words are powerful, but your habits are stronger than your words. So if your words are saying that I am XYZ, but your habits are saying the opposite thing, because habits are stronger than words in the hierarchy of manifestation, habits will eventually prevail.
Oh, it's all about the one that is
higher than the other. Yes.
So if I like every day, let me be saying I am strong, I am rich, I'm a billionaire, or somebody will say, don't confess anything negative, don't confess anything negative. And you don't. But is it possible for someone not to confess negative, not to feel anything negative, or any of it, but be acting and be, which is those two higher ones, action and
habits.
Have the action and habits and still manifest it in.
I'll share two examples with you.
Okay.
Richard Mofe-Damijo. He lost his mother before she turned 60. He lost his father before he turned 60. He was afraid that he would not live to be 60. So the feeling was there. But guess what? He had actions and habits of health. So he was living a healthy life in terms of his diet, in terms of his exercise and workouts, in terms of his social interactions, healthy lifestyle, because his habits were life habits. Even though his feelings may have been death feelings, do you understand? The habits eventually prevailed over the feelings, and today he's over 60, still kicking, still doing well and all that. Do you understand? So when people come to me for coaching and they have negative feelings, negative thoughts, what we try to do is we try to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. But apart from that, we make sure that the person's vocalization of his words, his actions and his habits speak in direct opposite of what the negativity that person is feeling, and then that's how they counter it.
But you've heard over and over again that when you keep thinking of something over and over again, you tend to draw it to you.
Yes.
How?
Yes. So there's what we call the electricity of thoughts. The same way you put sugar in a place and ants, after a while, you don't know where the ants are coming from. You put food that is spoiled. Before you know it, maggots appear. Everything that we do has an electromagnetic effect. Everything you do.
So does it mean that if you are thinking of something, even though you don't have the action and the habit, the thing won't manifest?
No, that's why I told you that there's a hierarchy in the manifestation. So it's good to feel it. However, you must also make sure that your words, your actions, and your habits are in consonance with it. Okay. Do you understand? So there must be what we call alignment.
Now, when someone is afraid of something, so if someone is afraid of something, and then he keeps thinking of that thing, because they say when you're afraid of something, like you say, what the Bible said, like Job said, the thing I feared most has come upon me.
Yes.
So does it mean that because he was afraid of that thing, even though he wasn't having that action and that habit towards it, the thing will eventually manifest just because he's thinking of it and he's afraid of it?
Yes. Okay. So what you said now is that he doesn't have the actions and the habits in that regard.
Yes.
It will be very difficult for that to happen. And there's only one exemption. And I'll explain it to you. Apart from what we call the law of hierarchy, there's also what we call the law of intensity. I'll explain. There's a law of hierarchy, but superior to the law of hierarchy is what we call the law of intensity. Now, let me explain to you. Now, you talk about somebody who is afraid of dying or afraid of something bad. He has a premonition, but he doesn't have the habits or doesn't have the same actions. Now, that's where the law of intensity may come in. Because in the law of intensity, a baby lion cannot kill a mature elephant. Even though lions are kings of the jungle. But a baby lion cannot kill a mature elephant. The same way, even though a habit is superior to a feeling or a thought, if a thought is very stubborn, you can't counter a stubborn thought with a gentle habit. The law of intensity the law of intensity comes into play. So if the thought is intensely stubborn, if it is maniacal, the habit to counter it has to be equally maniacal. It has to be equally stubborn. So you can't kill a stubborn thought with a gentle habit. You can't kill a stubborn thought with gentle words or affirmation. Stubborn thoughts have to be countered with stubborn words or stubborn affirmations. Stubborn thoughts have to be countered with stubborn habits as well, because of the law of intensity prevails over the law of hierarchy.
Now, based on what you said now, let me give you this different example, this life experience example that I've heard happen to someone. How can the person be able to counter this kind of thing? Because the person is afraid of flight, so the person avoided anything regarding flying. He's afraid of dying. He believes that maybe if he takes any flight, the flight is going to crash. So due to that feeling and that thought and that stubborn thought that we keep talking about, that he keeps dodging anything that deals with flight. But the day he finally decides to fly, he died on that plane crash. So why? If you tell me that it's not because of his habit as to, are you saying that because he's afraid of dying and knowing that he's thinking that if he takes plane, he's going to crash, so he shouldn't have gone to take any plane, or he should have worked against the thoughts? Why did it happen?
Yes, back to what I'm talking about, the law of intensity.
Yes.
I said the law of intensity states that every thought that is stubborn must be countered with an equally stubborn expression, whether it's words or actions or habits. So I said that if you have a stubborn thought, you cannot counter a stubborn thought with a docile or a gentle affirmation or habit. The stubborn thought must be countered with an equally stubborn positive habit. Do you understand?
That person now in this kind of situation now?
Yes.
This example of the person, that how can the person counter it?
Yes.
With a more habits or actions?
Very good. I'll give you a practical example.
Yes.
Of somebody I coached.
Okay.
She was afraid of staying in a house alone. So her fear was, she was afraid of staying in places alone.
Okay.
Then she was afraid of also having bad dreams. Okay. And she was having a lot of bad dreams. And I said to her that the reason why you're having bad dreams is that you spend more time thinking about the bad dreams you have had over the good dreams you have had. And I asked her, have you ever had any good dream in your life? She said yes. I said, can you list 3 of the best dreams you have ever had? Because repetition is emotion. You need to write that down. Repetition is emotion. Now, write down 3 of the best dreams you have ever had. She wrote down the 3 best dreams she's ever had. And I said, when you wake up in the morning, first thing, read those dreams to yourself. The first 20 minutes when you wake up in the morning, because the first 20 minutes, your frequency is very high. Frequency is very high. When you wake up in the morning, your frequency is the delta theta frequency. It's very good for impressionability. It's very good for changing your subconscious or programming your subconscious. Yes. Now, so she would spend the first 20 minutes reading those dreams, the good dreams she has had, reading them out loud to herself. Because some of these things also matter. When you vocalize a thing and you're saying it in a loud way and you're saying it in a convincing way, it also has its impact. Now, the more she was acquainting herself with her good dreams, the less she was being mindful of her bad dreams. Because your mind is a vacuum. The more you put it, the more you fill it in with good things, the more the evil things or the negative things begin to have lesser dominance. That's the way the mind works. It works like a container. So every morning, speaking it for just 20 minutes, reading it out loud and saying it, repetition is action. Repetition is emotion. Repetition is emotion. If you repeat it, you will eventually feel it. That's why if you hear a song on radio, and that song is a song you don't like, if you constantly hear that song, you will eventually like the song, or you eventually take to the song. You might find yourself even miming the song Subconsciously. Yes. Repetition is emotion.
So now, in that person's case now that died in plane crash, what could he have done that would have saved him?
Okay. Now, what he should have done was to ensure that he gets to a point where the thoughts or the feeling, the fear of flying is no longer stubborn. So he should have made sure that he replaced that stubborn feeling with an equally stubborn conviction.
Like?
Okay, you don't even have to go on a plane. You can play it in your mind. Let me tell you, listen to this. And you can do it for anything you want in this life, anything you want. And this is the golden key. The golden key is this. Words sufficiently internalized eventually become images. Images sufficiently internalized eventually become experiences. I'll say that once again. If you intensely internalize words, they eventually become images. When you intensely internalize an image, it will eventually become an experience. So what he was looking for was an experience. An experience of, he was looking for an experience of flying successfully. So what you need is that, first of all, you take those words, I fly successfully. I do not have the fear of flying. You don't even say that. You say, I enjoy flying. I love flying. I am so glad and I'm so fulfilled when I'm flying. I fly in bliss and comfort. I fly in peace and tranquility. I enjoy the process of flying. And you say it to yourself sufficiently.
With his mouth or
yes,
within his thoughts?
Both of them.
Okay.
Very powerful. Very powerful. Now, if he internalizes it sufficiently, it will become an image. He will start to imagine himself flying. He will start to imagine himself, he will even dream of him flying and landing successfully. Now, that is now an image from That's the second. He has not gotten to the highest hierarchy. Now, images sufficiently internalized eventually become experiences, which means you will get to the point that even when you try to suppress yourself from flying, you feel like going, you feel like, I want to give it a shot. I want to give it a shot. That when you get to that point, then you know that it's now a stubborn expression. Now, a stubborn expression is that will be able to counter a stubborn thought or stubborn feeling. Do you understand? So we don't just look at the hierarchy of manifestation or the law of hierarchy. We now look at the law of intensity. So when a person has an issue, a negative expression manifesting itself, the person needs to ask himself, what is the intensity of the expression? Is it maniacal? Is it stubborn? Is it mild? Or is it casual? These are the four levels. Yes, maniacal means that it's now an obsession. Okay. It is now an obsession. It's just like a person that can sell anything just to buy something that he likes, an addiction. It's just like when somebody, for example, is in love with a lady. Let me give you a practical example of something that is maniacal. When you are in love with a lady to the point that you drop out of school just because she broke up with you. You are so crazy about her that it makes you drop out of school. Or you start doing things that you can't even imagine. So it has gotten to a point of the deepest point of obsession, or it's maniacal. But less than that is what you call it stubborn. Stubborn means that it occurs every time in the day in the person's mind. It occurs. Okay. You know, it also affects the person's actions.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So a person may be afraid of, like I said, staying in a house alone, and then you start inviting people to pass the night with you. You know, so that is stubborn because it's already impeding your actions, not affecting your actions. And then you have the other level, which is less intense. You have a level that is just what you call it is noticeable. It is mild. And then you have the one that is casual. That is, it's almost like a joke. It just comes, you don't even notice it, you know, but it's there. But it's casual. It's very, very casual or very docile.
So those ones are not prone to manifesting.
They're not prone to manifesting. They're not prone to manifesting at all. They're so casual.
What is the highest point it has to get to before it becomes something that is going to eventually manifest?
That's the point of obsession.
That is point of
obsession. Yes, maniacal. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Now, when it comes to emotions, there is what we call fear, joy, love, happiness, and all of that. Now, how do you describe someone that is afraid? What does it mean to be afraid? When someone is truly afraid of something, what is the eventuality of that?
Yes, you see, that question does not have a direct answer because it's subject to other laws. The fact that a person is afraid of a thing does not mean that there must be an eventual outcome. I've given you different examples.
Yes.
There are people who were afraid of dying, who died. I'll give you an example. Marvin Gaye was afraid of dying. When Marvin Gaye goes into an elevator, he will press all the numbers in the elevator because he's afraid. Hold on. He's afraid that he doesn't know whether somebody is trying to hurt him on the first floor, the second floor, and he doesn't want people to know what floor he's going into.
Okay.
Do you understand? So now when people get to that level, it's almost becoming maniacal. Do you understand? Almost becoming maniacal. We've dealt with people who were afraid of having a particular ailment, and they will just go to the hospital regularly to just check. We've had people that were changing their numbers, their cell phone numbers, every 2 months, every 3 months, every 4 months, because they were afraid. Now, it's already impeding into your action. Now, eventually, Marvin Gaye died. He bought a gun for his father just for protection. He went to his father's house. When naturally, he never should have been in his father's house. And he was passing the night there. He was staying there for a while. His mother and father had an argument, and his father was threatening to beat up his mother. He wasn't happy about the situation. He went, pushed his father. His father brought out the gun and shot him 3 times, and he died.
Wow.
Yes. So there are many people who were afraid, really afraid of a thing happening, and it happened. But it's because all the laws were fulfilled. However, there are different conditions that have to be met. There are different conditions. There's what we call environmental enforcement, which means, listen to this. If a person is afraid of a thing happening, we are afraid of you having an accident.
Yes.
In certain countries,
yes,
for it to happen, it will take almost a miracle in certain cities, in certain countries, because the structures in those places make it difficult for there to be an accident.
That's true.
Now, the environment is enforcing the manifestation of a certain thing, the laws of that nation, that country.
That's true.
Yes. You see, if a woman is afraid of being raped,
yes,
there are certain countries where the environment will help your fear come to pass. Yes, there are certain countries where the environment will seriously work against, because the rates, based on the structures, the laws, and the systems that they have, will make it very difficult for such a thing to occur. Do you understand?
Yes,
so there are many factors that lead to manifestation. But the 3 main factors are: number 1, the law of hierarchy, the law of intensity of what you're feeling, and finally, environmental enforcement.
Wow. Why I asked this question was because each time I go to some blogs online that talks on marriage, marriage relationship, and all of that, you see many men commenting on why they are afraid of getting married wrongly. I don't want to meet the wrong partner. So it delays their getting married. So how can somebody proactively work against that? Or how can a person be able to overcome that kind of fear and just jump into the married life to go out to pick up a partner to get married to?
Very good question. Now, back to the law I gave you. A word intensely internalized will become an image. An image intensely internalized will become an experience. So let's assume that I'm afraid of getting married.
Yes.
Let's assume a person is afraid of getting married. What you need to do is to find words that speak in the opposite direction. That is, man, I love the institution of marriage. I love my marriage. I am blissfully married to the woman of my dreams. Do you understand? And you take those words and you say, I am so fulfilled. I am so happy that I'm finally married to the woman of my dreams. And you take those words.
Even when the person is not married yet.
Yes. And you begin to internalize it. You begin to internalize it. There's a law called the law of saturation. You don't get what you say. You get what you predominantly say. You don't get what you think. You get what you predominantly think of. That's the law of dominance. Do you understand?
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why a lot of people, especially faith people who have a particular religion, keep saying that, oh, I am this, I am this, I am that. And you don't see it in their lives.
Yes.
You don't get what you say. You get what you predominantly say. Even that law is subject to other laws as well. Do you understand? So this person, in quotes, wants to get married. With people that we coach, we advise them to have alarms on their phones about 8 times a day. Yeah, the alarm goes up to remind them to say it or to make them conscious of it. Do you understand? Yes, yes. Conscious. So that consciousness, like I said, remember the law I said? I said that a word intensely internalized will become an image. When
you say a word, can it also be a thought intensely internalized?
Why not? Okay. Why not? Becomes an image. But the key there is intense internalization. It has to become part and parcel of you. And then an image intensely internalized will now become what? An experience.
Okay, now how do you approach regulating your emotions?
Okay.
If someone wants to regulate their emotions, how do you approach? What does it mean like to be able to regulate your emotions, all of them put together?
Okay. There are many approaches into regulating your emotions. So many approaches.
Okay.
Let me share one with you. This experiment was conducted in an organization in America, well over 20 years ago. They wanted the people to take the staircase. They were taking the elevator previously. And they told them that taking the staircase is good for you. It's very good for you. It's good for your health. You are going to burn calories and fat and all that. And it's also good for our environments because we don't consume as much energy when people take the staircase rather than the elevator, and so on and so forth. They just went on. Nothing happened. People continued to take the elevator. Even after they put placards on the walls and all that, nothing happened. Guess what? Then they did something. They made the elevator become very slow in closing. Okay. So the elevator, you get into the elevator, but the door closes very slowly. Very slowly. People began to get irritated.
Okay, that the timing for the closing is...
You know what they decided? They'll just come out of the elevator and take the staircase. So they made it painful. Do you understand? One of the ways you can regulate an emotion is what we call the pain principle. Yes. What does this mean? If you make expressing an emotion painful, you'll find out that you are expressing less of that emotion. Yes. If it becomes more painful now, but guess what? Hold on. You need to hold on.
Okay.
The pain must supersede the gain.
The pain
must supersede the gain. Yes. The pain must supersede the gain. Once the pain supersedes the gain, it will happen effortlessly. I'll share an example with you. A man really was into drinking stout, and he was a pastor. But he was really into it. He felt it was a habit now, or maybe even call it an addiction. He would do it every day. And he used to take 2 bottles of stout, big stout. If you understand this story, you understand everything. And guess what happened? He went to eat one day, and after his sumptuous meal, he started downing the 2 bottles of big stout.
As usual. And
then he met a member of his congregation who saw him with 2 bottles of stout. And the person walked up to him and said, but I thought you were a pastor. What are you doing with this? And the person said to him, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. I thought you were actually a genuine man of God. And guess what? That experience was so painful, so painful, that after that day, he effortlessly stopped taking stout. Guess what?
Wow.
Guess what? Before, the reason why he took stout was because whenever he eats, he feels like vomiting. Okay. And so he takes stout to stop him from vomiting. But guess what? After that experience, he stopped taking stout and he stopped feeling like vomiting. You know what happened? The pain of that encounter, that experience, superseded the gains he was getting. Do you understand? That's the way it works. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So how do you master your pain?
How do you master pain?
Yes.
Okay. Mastery is repetition and repetition is mastery.
Okay.
I'll say it again. Mastery is repetition, and repetition is mastery.
Okay.
So to master pain is to repeat it till you become used to it. Till you become used to it, you become used to it. Now, if you look at this, I can give you so many examples of people who were scared of certain things, very scared of things, but after repetition and repetition and repetition and repetition, they became very used to it. That's human nature for you. Human nature. So what I say to people is that human nature receives a thing. After a while, it registers it. After a while, it begins to revel in it. So it begins to enjoy it. It revels in it. It just begins to enjoy it. But it starts to, for example, I know people who love to wake up early now. Love to wake up early. When I started intermittent fasting, do you understand? Yeah. Sometimes by 3 o'clock, I'll feel so hungry. But after I repeated it over and over again, it just became normal nature. So repetition is mastery, and mastery is repetition. So to have mastery over pain is that you have gone through repeated cycles of that pain. And it's not just going through repeated cycle, because there are people who go through the pain of emotional abuse in a household and they never get used to it. That's the truth. So we have to be very clear that we are putting this in context. I'm talking about pain where people recognize that this pain is actually good for me. Yes. So it is positive pain. You understand? There are people who go through the pain of being stigmatized in a society. Look at slavery in America. It was going on for years on ending. You understand? But they still were dissatisfied with it. They could have decided to get used to it. So I'm talking about pain that is intentional. You know that it's beneficial for you. And because you know that it's beneficial, you set out on a course to gain mastery of it.
Now, you said pain is a revelator.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?